Right, so welcome to this NCFE Professional Development Week. We are being supported today by the Gatsby Foundation, and we have Charlie and Kelly. So I'm going to hand over to them for this session.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Patricia, and thank you, colleagues, for joining us today. A very kind of busy day with the election and lots going on. So we really appreciate your time and coming along today. So my name's Charlie Moss. My role at Gatsby is Head of Further Education Curriculum Support, and I'm joined by my colleague Kelly. And up to Kelly.
Afternoon, everyone. Lovely to meet you. I'm Kelly Butterworth. I'm one of Gatsby's project officers working in our technical education team.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. So we've got a session planned for you today. We've tried to make it kind of interactive, tried to make it as interesting as we possibly can. Coming from a kind of teaching background, I thought what would be kind of useful, what would engage kind of me in that role. But so we've tried to make it as engaged as we possibly can. So we'll use the chat if we can. That's great. But we've also got some Slidos and some other ways that we can interact throughout the session as well. And I'm sure people will join us as we're moving through. So what we're going to be looking at today is giving you kind of a bit of introduction and context to one of our support programs, the Technical Education Networks program, and telling you a little bit about that and how that is used to support T-level teachers kind of nationally around the T-level delivery. We work really closely with NCFE on the program, so we're very excited to tell you about this support program that produces teaching materials, undertakes research, and also hosts and supports with events as well. So that'll be of particular, hopefully that will be useful to colleagues on the call today. We'll also showcase our website, so that's where we host all our outputs from the program, and we'll showcase some of our teaching materials as well, so you get a bit of a look and feel for what they're about and how they could potentially be used with students. We'll talk a little bit about next steps. So if colleagues on the call would like to engage in the programme, would like to keep informed in future developments, we can give some information about that. And we'll also talk more widely around wider support that we have for T-levels. And if you want to engage with those other programmes as well, we'll tell you a little bit about that as well, really. So a little bit about who we are. Some of you may have heard of the Gatsby Charitable Foundation before, probably around our career benchmarks kind of work, but we also have other areas of work that we focus on. So we're a charitable organisation and we focus our efforts mainly around 4 areas. So we focus on technical education, including the technical education reform. We look at STEM skills in the workforce and how they transpire to that kind of progression opportunities and future skills needs that the economy needs. Good career guidance through the career benchmarks and wider advocacy work around technical education pathways and progression opportunities. And then we do a lot of work in science and math schools in particular, and we do some support with STEM learning and some other kind of big providers in that space as well, really. So our head office is based in London. But you can probably tell from the accent that I'm not from London. So we have a Manchester office. I'm not from Manchester either, actually, but Northern, where Kelly's from Manchester. So she'll have the Manchester twang as well. So yeah, we have a Manchester office. We opened in January 2023, but our head office is in London. We have an evidence-based approach to our work. And we very much, our projects work over the long term. So we want to look at that sustained impact. And this program was initially a 3-year program. We're coming to the end of year 2. Well, we'll come to the end of year 2, but we're looking further afield over the next few years. So we very rarely do things over a few months or a year. We tend to do things over many years and have that sustained impact. And this is one of the examples of this program. And we're also very ambitious with our plans for work as well. We want to add real value and see ourselves as a collaborative partner. So we are a charity. We do work collaboratively with key stakeholders around T-levels like NCFE, ETF, the Association of Colleges, Department for Education, and we very much kind of support on those areas. That's really important as well. So that's great. So we just thought we'd give you a very quick overview of T-levels. Apologies if you know this, but we just wanted to spend a minute just for make sure everybody's kind of up to speed with them. So a quick overview of T-levels. Where did they kind of come from? So there was the Sainsbury's review and into post and the post-16 skills plan. And that set out 15 routes describing occupations across the labour market that required kind of technical and higher technical education. So from that, at the age of 16, students were to choose between an academic pathway, a traditional A-level or equivalent, leading to an undergraduate degree, or a technical option. And that's what the Sainsbury's Review and the post-16 plan kind of set out, really. So that's where the kind of T levels came from. And David Sainsbury, who is a benefactor from Gatsby, that's where our kind of link comes in around T levels, really. So I've just put a graphic on the screen around kind of T levels, and in my former role as a provider and a teacher in technical education, I use this a lot 2019-20 when we were setting up T levels. It just kind of breaks down the different elements within a T level. So very quickly, you have the core, which is usually delivered in year one, that has the underpinning knowledge and skills that are needed in a route. And then you have the kind of occupational specialism that follows on from that kind of core underpinning knowledge, takes forward that knowledge into application and into a specific occupational specialism. You then have the industry placements, a minimum of 315 hours, more in education and childcare, up to 750 for the license to practice. Maths, English and digital requirements, including the maths, English and digital competencies, and then other kind of requirements for T levels as well, including kind of employability enrichment and pastoral elements as well, really. So we just wanted to provide that basis that we can kind of build on kind of moving forward in the session. But moving forward from that kind of introduction for T levels, we just wanted to play a very short video that just articulates a little bit around the technical education programs of which today's session will be based. So I'll hand over to Kelly, who will press the magic button and go from there. Thank you, Kelly.
Welcome to the Technical Education Networks programme. Our goal is to support teachers as they bring industry and the classroom closer together. The programme focuses on 5 technical education routes: agriculture, environmental and animal care, construction and the built environment, digital, engineering and manufacturing, and health and science. There are 3 main programme outputs: research and insight gathering with teachers, employers and industry bodies, events for specialist teachers, employers and stakeholders to share experience and foster collaboration, and teaching materials to support teachers in shaping engaging curriculum topics. These include teaching sequences, videos and animations, study questions and webinars. A 3-year study by the University of Huddersfield defined the subject specialist pedagogy that underpins the teaching materials. And we have spoken with teachers, employers, professional organisations and awarding organisations to shape the materials for industry context and subject relevance. To learn more about the programme and feed into future work, please get in touch.
Oh, you don't want to see it again, but yeah, hopefully that just gives you a good overview. We appreciate it's quite a large programme with a lot of moving parts to it, so we put that introduction video together to really culminate the main outputs, the people that are involved in the programme, and hopefully, yeah, it gives you a good sense. We'll move on to a few more of the wider details on the programme shortly, but before we do, we are just keen to get interactive and get to hear from you as well. So we've put a Slido, as you can see on the screen. Now, if you've not used it before, all you need to do, if you've got a smart device, you can scan the QR code and it'll take you directly to this question where it'll allow you to answer the question. If you've not got a smartphone to hand, you can type it in on your web browser, www.slido.com, and then you'll be met with a blue box and asked to put in a 7-digit code, which is the hashtag number in the left-hand side. So it's 2075475. And we're just really keen to get an understanding of where you're at on your T-level journey. If you are in delivery, if you're preparing to deliver, if you're not planning on delivering, but just interested in hearing more about T-level as well, just really interested to hear. So we've got a nice mix there as well. And hopefully the content that we've got planned today will cover and be beneficial for a mix of audiences. That's great. Thank you. Let's give it a couple more minutes. Hopefully everyone's managed to access it okay.
Quite a spread, Kelly. I think it's
Yeah.
we usually get these in our webinars, don't we? We get a bit real kind of spread of delegates, so that's interesting.
Yeah, that's great. So it looks like we've got someone due to start in September, which is exciting. So hopefully this will be really useful today when we move on a little bit later to the resources, how we work, what we've got on the website, and do a little walkthrough as well. So hopefully you'll find that useful. Just seeing if anyone else. So I can see 5 people have put into the slide. I'll just wait for a couple more, and then we'll move on to the next question as well. I think either way we can see we've got quite a nice even spread as well. So we'll move on to where you can actually put in some more answers. So that's great. Thank you for those who've participated. Now, if you are still on the Slido screen, you should see that it's moved on to the next question. And this is an open word cloud. So what would you like to take away from today's session? So, you know, me and Charlie thought about what would be most of benefit to you guys in the session today, but it'd be great to hear from you. And, you know, hopefully if there is anything that you'd like to take away, that we cover it in the slides that are to come as well. So really keen to hear if there's anything in particular, if you've got any questions, either in the slide or as we move through the presentation. If you want to utilize the chat function or hand up and use your microphone, then please do, as we're keen to make sure that we can answer as many questions as possible as well. Yep, gain familiarity with resources and how to access them. Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully by the end of the session, you will be able to do that. As we mentioned, we've got the website as well. So a large part of today's session, probably the second half of today's session, will be focused around the website, how to use it, the different functions. And what's really useful as well is the useful links as well. So on our website, we don't only host our own resources, but we also signpost to NCFE, to other awarding bodies, any useful links or resources that we've been made aware of. Some of STEM learning, for example, in the digital sector, we've linked to BCS. So hopefully as well that answers as well the accurate websites for relevant resources. Absolutely. And, you know, as we've come on to it, high quality is our mantra throughout the programme as well. So we want to make sure that we're gathering the evidence of and the landscape of resources that are out there and putting it into one place as well, to be a one-stop shop for you as well, so that you can click on health and science and not only see our resources but other resources as well, which are going to support that learning. So that's great. Online materials for VLEs. Yeah, so you'll be glad to hear on the website when we show it, all the resources are freely accessible to download as well. They're in either PowerPoint, Word document, PDF format. There's videos you can download, all of which can be uploaded to your provider VLE as well, in whatever format suits.
Yeah, I think that top one there, Kelly, the practical resources to adapt, hit the ground running. Yeah, we've tried to put the resources in an editable format, so you'll notice that the PowerPoints and Word documents that you can edit, and we thought that was important for teachers because you want to make them your own, but we want to provide a framework for those resources. So yes, hopefully that will help hit the ground running. That's so important, isn't it? Understand T-level delivery skills. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll definitely have some time at the end of the call as well for some questions if there's stuff that we haven't covered on here, but it looks like we've got most things covered on there. Perfect, Kelly.
Yeah, great. Thank you, everyone. So yeah, so just a bit more detail really on the programme. As you saw from the introduction video, we have an early focus on T-levels and we cover the 5 main STEM areas. And at the heart of the programme really is our specialist teacher groups that you'll have seen featured in the video as well. And we really use the group of specialist teachers in each route to sense check where the value lies in terms of where should there be the direction of travel with the resources as well. You know, we're mindful it's a busy landscape and there is a lot of already good, strong resources out there. So we're really keen not to duplicate anything that is currently out there as well. We're just keen to understand if there are any gaps, where they are, and how we can add value to that as well. So we convene specialist teacher groups up to 3 times a year online, where we meet with approximately 20 to 40 teachers in each route. We sense check and say, this is where our gap analysis has led us to believe there's potential gaps in resource. Would you agree? Is there any other areas? And also looking at the different formats as well that they be in, whether it's a typical lesson sequence or whether it's more drop-in discrete assets that can be dropped into schemes of work or supporting multimedia, for example. So just to really highlight that first point, we have got a very much evidence-based approach to our outputs as well. We'll do gap analysis, we'll sense check it with teachers in delivery, we'll visit providers as well, see what lands well, what works well for students. T-levels are still a fairly new qualification with a lot of industry insight as well, so we're really keen to make sure that industry and the classroom are brought closer together by involving industry experts in the reviews of the materials as well. So making sure that what is done in industry, down to the terminology, the ways of practice, the colour, rubbish bags that are used, for example, that's an example we've got, are really highlighted and replicable in the materials as well. So we are ambitious. We do want them to be the highest quality materials that add real value. And that's why we've got so many people involved in that as well. From teachers, we've got professional authors, we've got a team, of a publishing team with commissioners, and we've also got awarding bodies such as NCFE, subject and industry specialists as well, who all contribute to the reviews of the materials. Alongside that, we've also got our research arm to the programme as well, where we carry out research again to support the delivery and development of the T-levels in providers as well. So one piece of research we had last year was around the macro sequencing of T-level curriculum, which we'll come on to when we visit the website. And hopefully that answers just one of the previous points on the Slido as well, in terms of understanding T-level delivery, how to sequence the curriculum as well. And what we did for that was interview providers and kind of pulled out the key themes of how they were structuring the core components of the T-level, from the core, occupational specialism, day release versus block release for placement models as well, and the decision-making factors behind that as well, and putting that into a format that teachers can go away, use and implement into their own practice as well. Subject specialist pedagogy is the underpinning framework. So this is a piece of research that was carried out by the University of Huddersfield by Professor Kevin Orr, who's another integral part of the programme as well, and who carries out reviews and training when we carry out the inception for our authoring team as well. So subject specialist pedagogy really looks at those occupational identity, the sequencing of curriculum, and what makes good, strong technical education pedagogy as well. So that underpins the framework for the writing of the materials as well. As you probably already guessed, collaboration is a massive part through what I've said so far, and that's why we do have such a robust quality assurance process when the materials go online as well. So you can rest assured that when you do go on the website, you see the materials, they have been sense checked by the awarding body, making sure that the breadth and depth of the content is right and it matches what's in the specification as well. That's really important, as well as getting that industry and subject specialist relevance as well. So we have actually got curriculum reviewer roles, which I'll come on to in that next bullet point as well. And this is where we pair in delivery T-level teachers with professional authors writing the materials to make sure that how it's going to land in the classroom is right. Is that going to be accurate? Is that going to be the best worksheet activity that's going to land well with students, even down to timings on how much to spend on different activities, or typically how long would you spend on this topic in the curriculum across a week. So it's really important that we have experienced T-level teachers involved as well. As I've mentioned, awarding organisations for that content breadth and depth. We've got chief examiners also involved in the process as well, because they can provide insight around previous summer exam reports as well. So see where students are thriving, or where there's perhaps areas for improvement that we can really help to plug the gap in the resources and help prepare students for as well. And then, as I mentioned, industry specialists as well, to make sure we're getting that occupational identity through the materials, and making sure they're adding that industry context, the skills that they want young people to be developing through the materials, but also when they're coming into the workplace as well, whether that be industry placement or afterwards as well. And as I mentioned before, with the multimedia assets that we're keen to develop as well, someone that can showcase their industry as well, and perhaps bring elements to life where students may not necessarily see in the classroom. So getting involved from that aspect is really keen for us. And yeah, ultimately we just want the teaching materials to be well used and valued. And it's an iterative process, so we are always open to feedback as well. Or if you'd like to see more of something as well after today, when you viewed the website, we'd love to hear from you as well and know what is landing well and where we can build on as well in various topics. So hopefully that gives you a broad overview of the process and the people that are involved on the programme as well. And then what we was going to showcase next is, as we mentioned, the specialist teacher groups and the insight gathering. We just wanted to share a couple of insights that we've received so far, which has kind of helped steer our direction of travel with the materials. So this is some of the typical key themes we've got into, Charlie, when we spoke to teachers in regards to my students don't understand why this topic is important. So it kind of links to the top speech bubble as well, around drier areas of the curriculum to teach. For example, it might be health and safety or policies and procedures where, unless it's applied in action, students perhaps don't understand the importance and the relevance unless it's in that context. So that's definitely a key theme that's come out of speaking with teachers about where there's potential gaps to do more. I want to bring this topic area to life with contextualised examples, so just going back to those industry links and points before as well. So they've got the content and the knowledge and the theory behind it. How can they apply that knowledge as well to the industry context so that they really understand it when they're going into their exams and in the workplace? They know the relevance, they know the importance of it and why certain things have to be done in the workplace as well. So we just thought we'd share a couple of insights there so you can see the type of feedback that we've had currently and which has helped direct our efforts into certain topics at this stage. So just thinking about resources now, I've got another Slido for you. So we know what we've used so far, and you'll see when we move on to the website walkthrough, but we'd be really keen to hear what types of resources work best with your students currently. We're mindful that we've got a number of different routes on the call potentially, so if you could add a prefix to the start of your response, that'd be really helpful for us, please. So whether it's health, digital, and then put your response, just so that we can get an idea of what's landing well for your students. So when we're saying what types of resources, you know, down to the style, length, if it's a video, you know, how long is too long, what's ideal for your students, what format, and if there's any particular reasons why as well, we'd really like to hear from you in that sense as well. Thank you. I can already see people typing. Appreciate there might be longer answers on this one. Digital podcast, maximum 15-minute videos. That's really interesting. Podcast is a new one. We might have to add that to our portfolio there, Charlie. And how long, sorry if you don't mind me asking, with the podcast, how long are they? Are they similar? Are they shorter snippet, like bite-sized chunk podcasts, or can they be longer? And is there certain topics perhaps that podcasts work better for? Thank you for that, max 20-30 minutes on the podcast. Brilliant. And is, sorry to ask another question, is that more understanding the content and theory, would you say, or is it people talking through application of knowledge or talking about it in a bit more general?
I can hear the cogs turning, Kelly, as people are typing. It's really good. I think we're also particularly interested in kind of the different ways students learn. So your more traditional kind of classroom learning, but also kind of learning outside of the classroom. So obviously podcasts, you know, have come out a few times in other ones, but think about, you know, students on the way to college on the bus, or learning in their own time, or, you know, we want to be as ambitious as we possibly can with the resources we create. So any thing that might be a little bit off the wall or something like that is absolutely fine. So science practical videos with linked reasoning to excellent, fantastic. Oh, we've got an update on that later in the meeting, so that's good.
Yeah.
To hear.
And that's
Application
really
knowledge.
helpful with the application of knowledge. Thank you. Yeah. And hearing from those industry experts, I can almost see that already. Like, you know, someone from a tech company talking about what they've done to implement AI or a new, you know, emerging technology. Yeah, I think hearing from industry and employees is definitely important.
Yeah, it helps kind of
It's really
contextualize that learning, doesn't it? And that application, and that's what the T Lab's about, isn't it? About doing that. So that sounds great. So just got a couple more people to type in.
right. So exam style questions, application of content into different demand command style questions. That's really helpful. Thank you. Right, I think we've got a couple there, so hopefully it tees up nicely to pass back to Charlie to talk a bit more about the website in particular and the resources available.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kelly. And yeah, great to get that kind of insight. We do undertake a lot of kind of provider visits. I think we did about kind of 15 last year and speak to lots and lots of teachers. We're always really keen to engage with events like this so that we can speak to people and get, you know, what's going to add the most value for students. We have them strategic discussions, but we really value speaking to teachers in particular with what lands best for them with their students. So thank you for that. It's really helpful. So yeah, we wanted to kind of move on to show you the website that we mentioned earlier in the call, and our kind of URL is the technicaleducationnetworks.org.uk, and this is our website where we host all the outputs from the Technical Education Networks program. So our teaching resources, all our research, information about our events and updates, and then any other information we think would be useful for teachers as the key kind of audience, really. So we'll take you through the website as you click onto it. So as you come onto the website, and all the website is free. There's no login required. You don't need to do anything like that. So when you come onto the website, you'll see this as the homepage, and it tells you a little bit about the program, and it's about bringing industry and the classroom kind of closer together and providing assets to support technical education teachers, but with an early focus on T level. So it tells you a little bit about us, and as you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see our kind of main outputs there. So you can access them either through the middle of the homepage, so our research, teaching materials, and events and updates, or as soon as you come onto the page, there's an option at the top of the page as well that you can do them in the grey banner there as well. So, and also the routes are all on the top, but as you scroll down on the home page, we've got them in the middle there really as well. Really, and if you hover over each one, we've had a staggered approach to how we've released the routes. So we've started with health and science and digital. We're currently writing materials for construction and engineering manufacturing, and we are just starting agriculture in the next kind of month or so. Yes, of course, we'll be sending out the slides and the key information following this call. Yeah, thanks, Patricia, for adding that in there. So as you scroll a little bit further down on the homepage, you've got our featured updates. So we've just finished a project with the Royal Society of Chemistry, kind of signposting all the science materials that are applicable to T levels. So yeah, you did this yesterday, didn't you, Kelly? So it kind of tells you a little bit about this kind of information. It tells you a little bit about the Teach Chemistry Support Hub. And it also, when you click onto that and you sign up, again, it's all free. You'll be able to do a search for T-level resources as well through that link. So that's all on our homepage as an example of an update. And all our kind of partnership work will be on there as well. So doing some stuff with Skills Builder at the minute and other partners as well. So the useful updates at the bottom, they're in chronological order. So the most recent will appear first on the left and then work right across to the right. So on the homepage, if we have a look at some of the materials, so I don't know, Kelly, let's go on to digital, shall we? For just to show you an example, and we'll show some health and science. So when you click onto a homepage, You'll have our teaching resources appear straight away, so there'll be a carousel. So you'll have the different teaching topics that are available. So in digital, we've got 4 topics. And what you'll notice when you look on the carousel is a lot of our initial topics are groups of lessons or sequences of lessons. So for example, if you look at the digital environments carousel, you'll see that there's 10 lessons there. So if we click on learn more, that will take you through to this topic area. So at the top is a teacher guide, and then we've got lesson cards. So if a quick look at the teacher guide, Kelly, first, if that's okay. And basically this kind of articulates how you might use the resources below. But we're very mindful that, you know, new teachers might want to use the resources, lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3 concurrently. More experienced teachers might want to dip in and pick out certain things that they might want to drop into high quality existing assets that they already have. So the teacher guide talks about what areas of the specification are covered. It goes through kind of a contents page, and then it articulates the topic purpose. So this one's all about digital environments, why that's important. And then it goes into that industry importance. Why are digital environments important in the digital industry? And this is where our industry contacts that Kelly mentioned earlier kind of come into play. We've got industry links there as well. So these are additional links beyond the 10 lessons that might be useful to teachers. It talks about any prior learning that might be needed before they use this set of materials. And then there's a little bit about accessibility for groups of learners, including SEND learners as well. Then it goes down into a bit of a matrix. So it talks about what's in lesson 1, the learning outcomes, areas of the spec that are covered, English, maths and digital competencies and core skills where appropriate, and then any other synoptic links to other areas of the specification outside of this core kind of topic area. So it does that for each of the lessons, and it maps them in. And if you scroll down, Kelly, to an example, please, thank you. So it goes all the way through. This is our biggest one, 10 lessons. Usually this one, it goes into some lesson guidance. So it talks about any safety factors, prior learning, and then it goes into a traditional kind of outline framework for a lesson. So in the suggested times, it'll give you some options. It'll be a bit of a framework, but it might say, if your students would prefer to have all the knowledge, please present slides 3 to 5. If you would prefer to do this as a worksheet and an applied task, please use worksheet 2. So it gives teachers the pedagogical options and decisions that they can make that relate best to their students, really. So it gives a few options within the lesson, really. So it works its way through different activities, suggested times, mapped in the general competencies, and then it will sum up the lesson in a plenary and then a kind of feed forward to the following lesson, should that be appropriate, should you want to deliver it concurrently in that way, really. So yeah, it works its way through, and then the next lesson starts. So we've sequenced the lessons that obviously lesson 2 would follow on from lesson 1, but in lesson 2, I think in this sequence, lessons 1 to 4 kind of could be grouped together, lessons 5 and 7. So it gives some ideas about how you might group them together if you wanted to do anything kind of more advanced than the 1 to 10 in that order, really. So if we go back to the website, so that's the teacher guide. And then what we've got here, and the way we've displayed it in this way, is each lesson has the assets associated to that lesson. So we've used iconography for a slide deck. We've got kind of worksheets, we've got videos. I think one of the comments earlier was around industry voices. We've got a big emphasis on that, really, as well, really. So we created these resources with the Raspberry Pi Foundation, and that should kind of give a bit of an overview there. So yeah, Kelly, could we just have a look at one of the slide decks just so colleagues can get a bit of an idea on what these look like? Thank you. So we've got the slide decks there. We've tried to keep it as kind of minimalistic from a text perspective as possible, so that it's not text overload or cognitive load overload as well. So we've got the lesson. This lesson starts with a hook video, so it talks about why digital environments are really important, and then it goes on to the content that's related within this lesson. And as you go through the lesson, some of the first lessons will be more kind of content heavy, as it provides the underpinning knowledge. And then as you work through the lessons, you'll have things like apply it tasks, which are a bit further down in the slide decks. This one's all there, some industry information, and then we've got some apply it tasks. So applying all that learning from the lesson into a scenario or a kind of an employer brief example, and then we've got kind of potential answers from the apply it task that teachers will be able to use, the purpose, justification, and we've also got things on slide, I think it's 34, Kelly, examples of retrieval practice questions at the end of a lesson. So the lesson will kind of display the questions, and then when you click on, it will then display the answers so they can be done within a lesson as an example. So that's an example of a slide deck. If we go back onto the lesson card, we've got videos on there as well. They are real kind of different kind of types of videos. So some of them are content related, some of them are industry specific, some of them have kind of stock images and have that kind of futuristic look as well. So it kind of gives you kind of really good examples there as well. I just wonder, from the last one, Kelly, people were talking about assessment questions. Maybe we could click on lesson 4, summative assessment questions, just to show an example of those, if that's okay.
There's some here as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So yes, we've got some kind of questions that can be asked. These have all been kind of sense checked with the awarding body as well, just to make sure that they are the appropriate kind of structure, they kind of have the right kind of marks associated with them, and so on and so forth. So some examples there of questions that can be asked. And then there's an answer sheet for the questions as well, so that you can either go through them as the teacher, as students kind of do it and mark it, or you can use it as peer assessment if that's helpful as well. So there's different mechanisms and ways that you can do that. So some of the questions will be printed out onto documents like this. Some of them will be embedded into the slide decks as well, really. So that'll give you a bit of a feel for that. So yeah, if we go back onto the lesson card, please, Kelly, thank you. So yeah, there's loads there. We won't go through all these today, but it'll give you an example, like the video on lesson 7, Kelly, the software engineer. That's a little bit kind of a different example of a video. So this is a case study of a software engineer that relates to the content in this lesson, but you might want to use this as progression and personal development within the wider study program around that. So that's quite a nice one of Kayanu, who's started in a coding club and then he progressed into a software engineering role. So it relates to the content in lesson 7, but also those wider implications, really. So that's good. If we have a quick look on health and science, Kelly, if that's okay, just mindful, so we've got some colleagues on that pathway as well. So exactly the same in health and science. We've got our kind of different kind of carousels. We've got kind of 5 on here. Some of them have been contextualized around health, some of them around science. These are all kind of core kind of elements, really. So that'll be good. If we go on to, let's go on to working in this one here, kind of working in the health and science sector is fine. So that's the same where teacher guide. And then we have our kind of different things. So yeah, Kelly, if we could maybe show one of the scenario videos so colleagues get a bit of this is, again, a different type of video that we've created, but this is kind of scenario-based learning. So we'll show this and then we'll move on. So yeah, thanks, Kelly. Thank you, Kelly. Quite serious music. I always think that every time we watch that, it's quite serious. But obviously, it's a serious kind of incident, with a Sharps injury, and there could be severe consequences. So we've created assets like this as well. The other one, there's another one on there around an industry placement, more kind of upbeat, and then there's other ones about kind of other instruments. But we've tried to look at different ways that we can present information. This is quite a dry topic when you think about policies and procedures, and we're trying to kind of bring it to life wherever we possibly can. So in the teacher guide, there's some kind of stretch and challenge questions that would support the questions on the slide. So those kind of evaluate, those analyze, those kind of tiered questionings that might scaffold the questions that are on the slide deck as well, really. So yeah, we've got scenarios there. The questions could be answered in the lesson, but they might prompt other discussion about other things that they see in that video that students might find of interest. Like, did he say how they did this? And that's what I see on my industry placement. So we're trying to bring those in, really. So exactly the same for health. We've got variety of different kind of mechanisms. We've got multimedia assets. We've got worksheets. And then, Kelly, I just wondered if we could maybe show us an example of a study question on one of those, if that's okay, just to see how they might be slightly different again as well. So I don't know if we've got one on there.
It might be on another.
Yeah, there's a few on the
It might be on the newest one.
yeah. There's so some of the study questions are embedded into the slide deck, aren't they? I think so. I think we can kind of have a look if we go on to there's a few examples on there, but yeah, we've kind of got worksheets, slide decks, we've got study questions, and so on and so forth on there as well. So that hopefully gives you a bit of an overview of the teaching materials. We work closely with NCFE to make sure we don't duplicate anything. We're evidence driven by what the teachers are telling us will add the most value, and we work with chief examiners and so on to make sure that we are the assessment that supports the learning in these areas is absolutely on point. That's really important. So another part of our website is our research, so you can access that from the top bar. And we've got quite a lot of research around macro sequencing of T-level curriculum. So we did this in collaboration with the Association of Colleges over the last year, and we spoke to about 55 providers. So Kelly, I don't know if you want to pick any of those to show colleagues what that looks like. So we've got health and science. So if you click download, historically we got about 60-page report from the AOC, and what we've tried to do is pull out the key information, present it in a way, busy teachers, what does it mean for me, and what's the key information. So as you scroll through, it tells you, what the research is. It tells you about the T levels that are covered. It gives a headline overview of the T level route and the different elements within that, the employee set project. It tells you a little bit about what we consider macro sequencing to be. So that is the large elements of a T level, like the core, the occupational specialism, industry placement, skills, and any other duties, any other parts. And then we've presented some models based on the feedback that we've got. So as a new provider or an established provider, we've tried to say, what do you do now and what are you thinking about doing in the future? So for example, in this health model, it breaks down the core content. So they have 4 different themes across 4 different teachers. It talks about when they do the ESP and the exam prep, when the actual exams and ESP is, a revision in year 2 and a reset, and when they do the industry placements. So this model, they do kind of a core industry placement, more generic, and then they go into a clinical placement in year 2. And then it does the same for the occupational specialism around delivery of the performance outcomes, formative assessment, then the performance outcomes again, and then going into the full kind of external assessment window for those. So everything's got a key associated with it, and all colour coordinated as well. So it kind of breaks it down into those. Some pathways have a couple of models, some have 3, and we've tried to cover as many as we can. And then as you work through the research, it gives you kind of tips on diagnostic assessment, how the core could potentially be sequenced, embedding both essential and technical skills into the curriculum. So what providers have told us and what works particularly well, how they sequence the occupational specialism. We're seeing more providers bringing in elements of the occupational specialism into year one when they naturally occur in the core where appropriate, and that additional application of knowledge, and then how they implement industry placements in the route as well, whether it's a block, a day release, or a combination really. So it does work through the same, and it does exactly the same for science. So yeah, we hope they are useful to providers, but again, they're informed by that research and insight in particular, really. I'm just mindful of time. We could probably talk about this for many hours, but we'll kind of move on. But you know, that's the website. Please have a look at it in your own time, and there's plenty on there as we move kind of forward with that. So kind of next steps relating to the Technical Education Networks program. If you do have teachers in one of our 5 routes and you are interested in engaging, whether coming to those meetings or being kept up to date when we release materials like today, we've released 2 topics today in preparation for the webinar. If you email Kelly and say, look, we'd love to be involved, here's my email address, and I'm a curriculum lead for engineering manufacturing at Bath College. That's all we need, and we can add you to our mailing list and invite you to our next set of meetings, which will be in the new academic year in that term 1, probably just after October half term, we think will be those first sets of meetings. If you have any specific industry contacts, you think, you know what, you're doing work in health, you really need to speak to this person who's amazing, who we work with, we'd love to hear from them and follow that up. If you'd like to join our kind of wider mailing across Gatsby's work, we're very happy to add you to that as well. And also, if you've used any of the materials, we're gathering feedback as part of our initial evaluation of the programme. So Kelly's details are there, and we're collating all that. So if it is of interest, please drop Kelly a line and we'll add you onto our list. I think I'm handing back to you, Kelly, now, if that's okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Charlie. Hope you found that useful. So what we wanted to do with this slide, and I know that they'll be shared afterwards, but is just share a little bit around the wider work within the technical education team as well. So me and Charlie very much focus on the curriculum provider, teacher facing work, but we have a number of our colleagues who do a lot of work around industry placements and employers as well, and student destinations. So we've just highlighted a couple of them on screen now. One of which is led by our health project manager, Claire Reynolds, who coordinates our ICS network for NHS employers, bringing them together, ICS boards as well, sharing experiences, how to get them involved in health T-level placements as well, what can be done, and supporting that. We've got our destinations work. So in terms of T-levels, yeah, fairly new qualification, but it'd be great to be able to emphasise and highlight where students are going on to in the range of progression opportunities, whether it be a degree apprenticeship, whether it be straight into employment, whether it be university route. We'd just love to hear about how the students are doing and getting on as well. So we have actually got one of the destination case studies on the website as well for construction, where Will was a design surveying and planning student, and he's now doing a degree apprenticeship with Langer Roke as well, and he's sharing insights in terms of how his T-level has helped prepare him to his destination now as well. Again, they're all free to access as well. There's branded versions, non-branded versions that can be put together, and also for providers to use across marketing strategies as well. If you're, speaking to potential students, parents as well, who just want to see what the potential avenues are for their children as well, destinations are a great way to do that as well, and getting to hear from ex-T-level students themselves as well. So that is some wider work that we've got going, and yeah, just really keen to hear of any progression stories as well that you'd be able to share. As I mentioned at the start, we've got a lot of work across the team around industry placements as well. We've got a project manager for engineering and manufacturing, for health. We've got one of our project managers doing a lot of work around digital placements as well, traditional versus non-traditional destinations for T-level placements as well. So if you're interested in hearing about any of that wider work, please do let us know. And then our project manager, Sue Clark. This is a fairly new project around curriculum planning networks as well. So putting together small groups of providers and discussing how they're developing the wider curriculum offer alongside T-level. So Sue's email is on there as well if you'd like to hear a little bit more about that project as well. And then finally, we just wanted to emphasise the National Apprenticeship Awards as well. So for the first year, there's also going to be a T-level Student of the Year award and a T-level Employer award. So if you have any excellent students or employees, which I'm sure you do if you are in delivery, the nominations are open now for these awards as well. The deadline is the 19th of July, so please do make sure that you visit the website and get your nominations in for any T-level students or T-level employees like you'd like to nominate for these awards. As it says here, they're designed to recognise and reward the achievements of exceptional apprentices, T-level students, skills champions, and oh, I don't know why that's come up. There we go. And applications are open. So yeah, so the web link is on there, and please do have a visit. There will be 9 regional ceremonies and then 1 national ceremony as well, which is taking place in November. So we just wanted to make you aware of that if you weren't already. And then that quite nicely leads us 5 minutes left to answer any questions as well. But thanks so much for listening, and we hope you found it beneficial. And going back to those earlier points in terms of what you wanted to get out today, hopefully you found that helpful. So we'll open the floor to any questions and also the feedback form as well. I know from today, if you follow the feedback form, it can contribute to a digital credentials certificate as well, which can feed into your professional development portfolio. So I'll leave that on screen as well while we answer any questions that there might be.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. I'm just mindful of the things that came up at the beginning about what colleagues wanted to get out of today's session. If there's anything we haven't answered, please do ask now. We're very happy to take any comments. Please come off mute, and if you've got anything, thank you. Some notes in the chat. That's lovely.
Yeah, thank you for your lovely comments. That's great. And if there is anything that you'd like to see in future ones where we can amend anything, or like we said, if you are using the materials or have any considerations, we'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to join the specialist teacher groups, as we said earlier, again, we'd love to hear from you and, really build that insight, because, teachers are what drive our direction of travel as well.
The questions, we really appreciate your time, today, coming along and engaging. We hope it's been useful. If you'd like to reach out for any other reflections, you've got Kelly's email address there as well. Please drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. And if you're interested in engaging with the programme, just drop us a line and we'll add you onto our groups and get you involved.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thank you.
Yes, bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.